Welcome to the week that was, TIOL's weekly news roundup. Today we bring you an insight into some of the reforms expected to be initiated in Budget 2016. There is news on new tax rebate proposals, resolution of transfer pricing disputes, and revival of the bulk drugs industry.
There are also stories on the outcome of the sovereign gold scheme, fast-tracking issue of fresh passports, the highest taxpayers in the country, and a glimpse into the corruption index. But first, let's hear about some budget expectations on reforms.
Budget 2016 is in an advanced stage of preparedness to usher in some serious financial reforms. Some of these tax reforms will be designed on the recommendations made by the PSHOM Committee for Simplifying the Tax Administration, as well as the first draft report to simplify the Income Tax Act as delivered last week by the Justice Ishwar Committee. The Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley's budget proposals are expected to kickstart the gradual reduction in corporate tax as well as remove some tax exemptions to make tax administration cleaner and simpler. Some reforms to boost startups will provide transparency in tax laws, easier registration and compliance norms, and a simple exit policy. The Finance Ministry is also considering exemption from the minimum alternative tax on companies operating in special economic zones. This tax benefit is intended to revive domestic manufacturing and boost exports. Other administrative and law reforms being considered include abolition of the post of Revenue Secretary, the merger of CBDT and CBEC, and a broader use of the permanent account number card, besides higher threshold limits for various tax deducted at source and halving of withholding tax. A predictable tax structure must be the next logical step towards ease of doing business in India, besides ensuring reduction in tax litigation, tax arrears, and ensuring tax buoyancy. Some reforms for startups are already being implemented. Let's find out from Maneet.
While on startup reforms, the Labour Ministry has allowed startups to self-certify their compliance with 9 labour laws. It has directed the Employees Provident Fund Organisation or EPFO and health insurance provider ESIC to exempt startups from inspection and filing of returns under 9 labour laws for 3 years. These laws include the Provident Fund Act, the Employees State Insurance Act, the Building and Other Constructions Workers Act, Interstate Migrant Workmen Act, Payment of Gratuity Act and Contract Labour Act. The government is seen to be living up to its promises. India may soon charge companies advance tax in EMIs. Let's find out from Asha.
Even though corporate tax rates may be lowered in Budget 2016, the government may also introduce the global trend of charging companies advance tax in equated monthly installments, which will allow it to better manage its own inflow of funds into the Consolidated Fund of India. Currently, companies pay their annual tax dues in 4 installments of 15% by mid-June, 30% by mid-September, another 30% by mid-December, and the remainder by March 15th. This provides the government only 45% of the estimated tax flow in the first 8 months of the financial year. Money pours into the Consolidated Fund of India only by mid-December. The financial crunch the government faces in the first 8 months of the financial year compels it to borrow disproportionately more from the markets. So, lower government borrowings will also impact the fiscal deficit positively. Simply tweaking the tax funds inflow will make for better management of tax proceeds, won't it? The tax department has resolved some major transfer pricing disputes with American companies.
More than 100 transfer pricing disputes involving American technology and software companies have been resolved since the CBDT signed the landmark framework agreement with the American revenue authorities during US President Barack Obama's visit in January last year. The framework agreement was finalized under the Mutual Agreement Procedure or MAP provisions in India-USA DTAA. when more than 200 past transfer pricing disputes were pending before Indian tax authorities. The department expects some more pending disputes relating to IT software development services and IT-enabled services to be resolved before the end of this fiscal year. Under the transfer pricing deal, both sides agreed to respect bilateral advance pricing arrangements, which allowed American companies to ascertain their tax liability in India beforehand. The government is also working on MAP programs with Japan and the UK, which will help to create tax certainty for MNCs to do business in India. Surprise! The sovereign gold scheme appears to be a success.
After a dismal start, the second tranche of the government's sovereign gold scheme that concluded on January 22, 2016 appears to be a success. As per the initial figures, 3.16 lakh applications were received over the 5-day period for a total subscription of 2,719 kilograms of gold valued at Rs 726 crore by the banks. During the first tranche, only 62,000 applications were received for a total subscription of only 900 kilograms of gold valued at Rs 250 crore. While comprehensive information from all the authorized receiving agency banks is still being compiled, the success may be attributed to the awareness campaign generated by the government as well as clarity on the provisions of the scheme. These bonds shall be issued on February 8th next month. Bond tenure is for a period of 8 years with exit option from the 5th year onwards. The recruitment process for hiring consultants in government has been overhauled.
The government has introduced a centralized system for appointing consultants across ministries and in the Niti Aayog. The tenure of such consultants will now be limited to 1 year, which may be extended to a maximum of 3 years. Even the tenure of existing consultants will be subjected to a review by the new screening committee to be headed by the Cabinet Secretary, besides secretaries of the Department of Economic Affairs and the department concerned. This screening committee will also vet all appointments of all existing and future consultants, especially from the World Bank, International Monetary Fund and the Asian Development Bank as approved by the nodal ministry. Foreign consultants will need necessary security clearance from the Home Ministry. Consultants cannot be hired for policy formulation. Their role must be confined to presentation and analysis of possible options with the help of supporting data. Tax rebates have been proposed for single women with kids.
Single women with children are a much neglected part of the population that is now being targeted for some official benevolence. Ms. Maneka Gandhi, Minister for Women and Child Development, has proposed the introduction of tax rebates for single married women with children to provide them better financial security. A proposal to this effect has been sent to the Finance Ministry and the Prime Minister. The proposal includes women separated, divorced or widowed who are more than 4 crore in number, making for 3% of India's population. The minister has also proposed the inclusion of spouse's name in the death certificate of the husband to make it easier for women to claim entitlement after the husband's death.
The civil services have united for better prospects.
All civil services are not equal. While the 20 civil services start at the same pay scale following the same examination, the officers of the Indian Administrative Service and the Indian Foreign Service enjoy distinct privileges in terms of increments, promotions, and empanelment as joint secretaries. Even the members of the Empowered Committee, which will decide on the benefits for all the civil services as suggested by the 7th Pay Commission, are mostly from a single service. Hence, 20 civil services, excluding the IAS and the IFS, have come together to petition the Cabinet Secretary and the Expenditure Secretary for a fair representation on the Empowered Committee. These 20 civil services are peeved that even though the Prime Minister's office had recommended reducing the gap between the services in the empanelment to the Joint Secretary level by December 2015, this has not happened. Will their demand for equitable representation on the empowered committee be met? We shall keep you updated. Now for some good news for passport applicants.
The issue of passports to Indian citizens has always been a time-consuming and cumbersome process, taking more than 1 month. But now, fresh passports shall be issued within 1 week as the government has fast-tracked the process by delinking the issue of the passport to applicants from the police verification process. Citizens will be granted a fresh passport under the normal category within a week if their applications are accompanied by 3 documents, copies of their Aadhaar card, electoral photo identity card and a PAN card. In addition to this, an affidavit declaring citizenship, family details and no criminal record is also required. There shall be no extra charge for these services that cuts the waiting time for passports. Salman or Shah Rukh, who are the top individual taxpayers in the country?
Most of India's highest taxpayers are based in Mumbai. They are Bollywood actors, stock traders and top lawyers. 4 individuals in the Taparia family owning Famicare, a contraceptive company, together paid Rs 211 crore in advance tax and even individually were the country's top taxpayers. Other high net worth individuals who profitably played the stock market were Mr. Vivek Mehrotra, who paid Rs 30 crore, while Mr. Nemish Shantilal Shah paid Rs 23 crore as advance tax till December 2015. Actors Salman Khan and Akshay Kumar paid Rs 20 crore and Rs 16 crore respectively as advance tax this year. Salman Khan's Bajrangi Bhaijaan played big at the box office, ringing in Rs 600 crore worldwide, while Akshay Kumar's Airlift is still playing to rave reviews. Among the legal luminaries, Janak Dwarkadas paid nearly Rs 10 crore, while senior counsel Mr. Fali Nariman paid Rs 3.8 crore as advance tax to the government. They all featured among the top individual taxpayers of the country. Now, public grievances shall be monitored at the top level.
The Prime Minister has urged tough action to be taken on complaints against public officials including customs and excise officers. In a stern message to government departments with extensive public dealing, the Prime Minister directed the departmental secretaries to immediately set up a system for top-level monitoring of grievances. Regarding officers who refuse to mend their ways, he directed the secretaries to assess the performance of such employees and recommend appropriate actions including dismissal and slashing of pension. Under the rules, Group A and B officers can be penalized provided they entered service before turning 35 and have attained the age of 50 at the time of penal action. Under pension rules, any government servant can be dismissed after he completes 30 years of service. The government can initiate disciplinary action against any employee for dereliction of duty, and his pension and other benefits can be withheld pending investigation. Perhaps this attempt to clean up the system at the highest level has impacted the perception of corruption in the country. What is the incidence of corruption in India? Let's find out.
Transparency International India has declared that India's corruption index has come down. India was ranked 85th among 175 countries as against 94th last year, showing some improvement in addressing the issue of corruption. Denmark retained its position as the least corrupt country. In our neighborhood, China was moved to the 100th place, while Pakistan and Nepal were at the 126th position. Bangladesh was 145th, while Bhutan was placed in the 30th position. The index reflects the perception of corruption and bribery by businesses in India. On this note, we conclude this episode of The Week That Was. Thank you for watching.
You may write in to us at editor@tiol.in. We wish you a wonderful weekend ahead.